Okay, so this is section 4-3, and we're looking at right triangle trigonometry. So we're going to be using a right triangle here to look at the relationships of sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent to the hypotenuse. And if this is my angle theta that I'm looking at, my opposite side and my adjacent side. Okay. So using these relationships, this is stuff that you should have learned in geometry. Sohcahtoa is oftentimes what we call it. S-O-H-C-A-H-T-O-A. Sohcahtoa. Okay. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, or looking at this triangle, A over C. And cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent, and then the reciprocal functions just flip. So we're going to use those things here to solve a triangle. It says find the value of each trig function for angle A. This is angle A right here. And it says each trig function. Now in your homework, it's not going to say each trig function. However, I still want you to find all 6. Your homework might just ask for sine or just ask for cosine, but even if that's all it asks for, you're going to write all 6. And we're talking about angle A. So every problem that asks you to solve for one angle, I want you to solve for all 6. So we know that side A is equal to 1, and side C is equal to 3, and this is side B. Now we know angle C, so let's fill in what we know. We know that we have sine of, or we can actually before I do that, we can solve for side B using the Pythagorean Theorem. Remember that's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 1 plus b squared equals c squared. So b squared equals root 8 and b equals 2 root 2. Or b equals root 8. Okay. So we know what b is now. And we can evaluate all of these. Sine of angle A is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, but we need to rationalize that. So if we have 1 over 2 root 2, we can rationalize, multiply by root 2 over root 2, and then we have root 2 over 4. And then all of these are the reciprocals. So the reciprocal of this is 2 root 2. Reciprocal of this, and then rationalizing it is going to be 3 root 2 over 4. And then this one will just be 3. And that's it. Now moving down a little bit, we see the cofunction identities. And I believe on your notes right here, it says that these are not on your identity sheet. Because I made you guys new identity sheets, this is on your identity sheet now. And these properties are going to be really helpful for us in evaluating something that maybe looks complicated and make it a little bit simpler. So it says find a cofunction with the same value. Well, sine's cofunction is cosine. So cosine of 90 minus 46 degrees is going to be cosine of 44 degrees. So what we're saying is that these two things are equal. Okay. The next one, we have cotangent of pi over 12. Well, instead of 90 degrees, that's going to be pi over 2 minus, in this case, pi over 12. And what we can do is multiply by 6 over 6 and rewrite this so that we have cotangent of 6 pi over 12 minus pi over 12, and that gives us, oh, you know what? It's not cotangent. Cotangents would be tangent. My bad. Okay, so we fix that tangent, and then that'll be tangent of 5 pi over 12. So again, this is equal to this. Now the last thing in this section is something that you're going to see in word problems, and I'll go ahead and just zoom in on this a little bit. So what we're going to have here is a scenario, maybe a word problem where a person is standing here and they're looking out, and this would be the horizon looking straight out. Or maybe they're looking up at the top of a tall building or something like that, or the top of a tree, and this would be the angle of elevation. Or maybe they're standing on top of something and they're looking out and then they're looking down. This would be the angle of depression. So this is the horizon, angle of elevation, angle of depression, and you're going to have some word problems that ask you to solve those sorts of scenarios. And that brings us to the end of section 4-3.